late night shows to shut down immediately after Writers Guild strike called. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lord. Totally. Colbert, Kimmel, Fallon, and Myers. That's his name.
So Tim's pro-workers then, I guess, right? That's why.
Isn't this absolutely hilarious? Real Time with Bill Maher last week tonight. I thought these were political shows that address news topics. Bill, come on, man. You can't do a show without writers?
Of course they can, Tim. They're showing solidarity. God damn it. I hate Bill Maher, but they've all made statements to the effect of, yes.
These are our writers. These are our writers, and I'll stick myself in there because I'm WGA too, and they're so important to our show. They write the monologue, the meanwhile, the cold open. And without these people, this show would be called The Late Show with a guy rambling about the Lord of the Rings and boats for an hour. This negotiation impacts our whole staff, of course, who work so hard to bring you this show every night, which is why everybody, including myself, hopes both sides reach a deal. But I also think that the writers' demands are not unreasonable. I'm a member of the Guild. I support collective bargaining. This nation owes so much to unions. They're the reason. Unions. This is true. Unions are the reason we have weekends. And by extension, why we have TGI Fridays. So the next time you enjoy a whiskey-glazed Blaze burger, you thank a union. Definitely took a few teams.
Waiting on the DNC to go, you don't like Biden, then we'll nominate Feinstein? Yeah, no shit.
To assemble that thing. Might be a little shaved Jimmy Hoffa in there someplace.
This feels like an ad, Stephen. Can't you just be like, we support the writers? But you do. I noticed that Stephen Colbert came out, obviously Seth Meyers came out, obviously. Jimmy Fallon as well. Jimmy Fallon, by the way, is so bereft of talent. He's just a complete devoid substance of anything worthwhile that, like, he needs writers. What you see when you watch the Jimmy Fallon show, that's Jimmy Fallon with a fucking competent writing staff making him that painfully unfunny. So that's Jimmy Fallon taking material that is probably good and then just butchering all of it in real time. Can you imagine if the material that he butchers wasn't good? So if he was just butchering his own fucking sad, sorry monologues, it would be unwatchable. He knows this, and because he knows this, he's supporting the writers. So that's as far as we'll go with Jimmy Fallon. All of the rest of them, yes, it's based to see. You love to see it. I don't see a lot of other industries where people in positions of incredible power just come out repeatedly and defend these kind of people. Cakesicus, thank you, Lance. Someone needed to say it. I mean, I tweeted that out, by the way. I skeeted that out on Blue Sky, and there's, I guess, a bunch of writers for Jimmy Fallon's show who are also on Blue Sky, and they found that tweet, or skeet, sorry. I'm mispronouncing my words here. When they found my skeet, they like replied, they're like, so a staff writer on Jimmy Fallon's show. I don't want to talk shit because he gave me a job for a while, but yeah, he kind of sucks. He's a nice guy though. And then the other one was like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk shit about Jimmy's, writing style, but he's a nice person. He was nice to me. I'm sure he's nice. I'm sure, I hope he's nice. I hope he's not a fucking Ellen. Ellen sounds like a nightmare to work for, but like, I don't want Keanu Reeves to turn out to be a bad person. I can't accept that reality. So I'm going to live in a world where Keanu Reeves is just a wholesome being. And when I see things like, hey, here's some secret footage of Keanu Reeves on a Toronto subway giving up a seat for elderly people, I'm like, that's what I want to believe Keanu Reeves is truly like. And then when I see Keanu Reeves on the set of the John Wick movies, where he's like carrying a whole bunch of equipment, he's basically like, not just sitting in his trailer trying to score fucking Molly off whichever PA is like unfortunate enough to have to speak to him at any given time. And it's like, hey, I just want to help everyone out. Or on movie projects where he's like, I'm just going to take a massive cut because you're not paying the staff and the rest of the workers adequate amounts of money. They deserve to be well compensated. This is very hard work. I have worked the shittiest jobs on films for years, all right? I have been a fucking PA, and it sucks. It's not just brutal, it's demoralizing, because you are treated like garbage, and because they're so high paced and so frantic, it's always just like, hey, you, get up there, blah, 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 go change that scaffolding. Once you get back there, clean the fucking vomit that's all over the toilets, and once you get out of there, get in your car, you gotta pick up 27 lattes for these people, here's all the specific orders. If you fuck up one, and only one, you're fired, all right? Get the fuck out there and do it. And it's like, I'm by contract, I can get fired at any time. God damn it, I gotta do this for all you. It sucks. It sucks. It's like, it's brutal work. So it's nice when there's people in higher up positions who are actually like a little bit cooler about this. And the fact that you are seeing all these, you know, big night hosts supporting their writers, good. I think I have a clip because the OG is supposed to be Conan. This is true. Here's Conan spinning his wedding ring during the 2007 writer's strike just to fill airtime. Just to be like, and by the way, Conan is a very, very funny comedian. He could fill up an hour worth of like improv. You know, he could do that. It's not beyond the realm. Basically, every streamer you know doesn't have a writing staff. Streamers just basically they watch a lot of content to fill the hours. That part is true, but a lot of it you just fucking saying whatever comes to mind. Conan is a brilliant comedian. He could do that, but instead he just wants to bring attention to how important writers are.
I think that was in Blazing Saddles. All right, here we go. Susie, are you ready to time this? We're going for 41 seconds. If we do it, this will be television history. Susie, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, you excited, Susie?
Yes, good luck.
Not a genuine bone in her body. Here we go. Try and get a good spin. If I don't, I'll start all over again. Band, I hope you're ready. Here we go. And that's a good spin. That's a good spin. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Hold on. Susie Santamora, what was the time on that spin? That looked like a good spin to me.
36.
He's showing us a world without writers. That's right. This is solidarity. Okay, this is solidarity with the writers. This is solidarity. Because again, Conan is still as rich and powerful. I'm sure he's worth what, like 40 or 50 million dollars or something insane. Like he's paid very handsomely as the star of the show. It's basically there is no show without Conan O'Brien. Fair dues, but he's still being paid for by the studios. And when people tell me that Hollywood is woke, I hear this all the time from the weird ass right, where they're just like, Hollywood's woke, they went broke. Look at all this. Oh, they fucking another Star Wars movie. It's woke. It's got a woman. Oh, it's got a black guy as a prominent lead character and not a fucking side character or a villain. Oh, it went woke. Oh, look at the Little Mermaid. So woke, so black. All this shit. Hollywood is not woke. Hollywood is owned almost entirely by white men. Almost entirely, almost exclusively by white men. White men almost exclusively. And yes, some of them are Jewish. That is true. But that's about as close to diversity as you get in terms of ownership class. It's white men. It's a lot of white men. They are the ones who own the studios, who own the production, who own the fucking... They make the shots, the executive producers, they make the calls. It's white men. Yes. There's obviously some penetration by other demographics. It's getting better and it's working towards a more fair system, but it's far from any of that. And it's also a huge ass propaganda wing of the US military. There is actual blockbuster films that have direct tie-ins to recruitment ads. The new Independence Day the new Independence Day reboot, their actual official website. If you solve the codes, figure out what the aliens were supposed to do, when are they going to attack, you got sent to a recruitment webpage for the US military. The US military provides vast amounts of free personnel, weaponry, tanks, planes, shit that's usually very, very expensive to rent if they have a favorable light towards, you guessed it, the US military. Marvel films are no exception. There's a bunch of Marvel films that do fucking straight up US military propaganda and still get called woke. What is it, Miss Marvel? The Brie Larson one? The one that was just fucking the worst thing that ever happened to the quartering Jeremy Hambley in his life? Well, yeah, that one also had a lot of cross promotion for the US military industrial complex. It's a thing, you know? Conan's also been on the picket lines. Hell yeah. Good job, Conan. Way to be based. Rumors of Jesse Pinkman's demise have been greatly exaggerated. The story goes, Aaron Paul's character on Breaking Bad was destined to meet a grisly end on the 9th episode of the first season, but the 2007 WGA strike got in the way, cutting off production at 7 episodes, 6 of an intended 8 after the pilot. In the interview time between the seasons, Vince Gilligan changed his mind. An act of God stayed the execution. Without Jesse, there could be no Jane, no Gail, I haven't watched the show in so long, and I've watched it twice over too. No mentorship from Mike, no glowing loyalty to Gus, and no tragic fall into the moral despair to mirror Walt's increasing thirst for legacy, at least not in the same emotionally affecting way. This isn't true. It's an internet rumor that I have spread this morning with intent, by the way, because some of the staff and some of the people who work for Breaking Bad have also spread it in defense of unions and striking, and it's just a cute little thing, if you didn't know. So turns out they actually, after the second episode, decided to keep Jesse. Yeah, this is not a spoiler warning, by the way. A, because Breaking Bad's been out for so long, and B, like, everyone knows that Jesse Pinkman is a main character of the show. There's two main characters of the show. Jesse's one of the two main characters of the show, so you're gonna be okay. Anyways, Jesse was originally supposed to be killed very early on, and then after seeing him and the chemistry between him and Walt, especially, the writers and Vince Gillen, especially, was like, oh no, we're not killing off Jesse anymore. He's staying. But it is true that Breaking Bad season 1 ends very strangely after 7 episodes, and that's because that's when the writer's strike kicked in before they could finish the 8th episode and write it. So the season is already in production, and it was already being filmed and already being produced, edited, and there was stuff both in the production side and stuff in the pre-production side. They had enough to air the first 7 episodes on AMC, and it looks as if it was the strike itself that saved Jesse's character. Now, to this day, they like spreading this rumor, even though it's not true, because it's kind of just a little cute thing to be like, hey, look what unionization and striking gets us. Jesse Pinkman. So we're going to stick with it, you know?
I guess yesterday was kind of bad. Like, we had the second biggest banking failure in U.S. history happen at 4 in the morning with the U.S. government seizing it and then selling it off to J.P. Morgan, but giving J.P. Morgan the money to buy it. Talk about crooked. But this morning I have good news, and I imagine you can actually just be very happy. Late night shows to shut down immediately after Writers Guild strike called. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lord.
So,
Colbert, Kimmel, Fallon, and Myers. That's his name.
So Tim's pro workers then, I guess, right? That's why.
Right? No more. No more. They're gone, at least for the time being. He says there's a writer's strike happening.
Yeah, until the strike's over, Tim. That's how a strike works. We did it! We got rid of the late shows. The late shows you don't watch. I don't watch them. I'm not really down with any of the lib humor. I just don't like the format. They just feel like ads. That's like, I like Coco. That's about the exception for me, but I still don't watch it. But they're just ads. They're ads for movies and TV shows. Like, it's like, hey, we have this great guest. What's a funny anecdote that happened to you? Well, this one time I thought a dog was a cat. That is really funny that you would think that a dog was a cat. So do you have a thing you want to advertise? I do. Here's the movie or the project or the company that I am trying to promote right now. Cool. There's your free airtime. Now we've got actual ads, and then we'll come back and then we'll do another one of these and rinse and repeat, you know, that whole shit.
So we're going to go ahead and shut down all of these just absolutely awful shows. And ladies and gentlemen, we're not done. We're not done. Vice Media prepares to file for bankruptcy. Get woke. Go broke.
They just went woke? Just now? This year? Oh, wow. So what were they before? What have they been actually their entire careers? Especially since that major schism happened where Gavin McInnes was no longer allowed to even be part of Vice for various reasons. So they were anti-woke for the entirety of all of Vice. And that just this year and this year alone, they went woke and now they're broke. Okay. Good to know.
What a morning. Okay. Well, let's start with the immediate, simpler news, which is...
It's kind of funny, too, because his original start was on Vice, so maybe this is just, like, bittersweet for Tim.
Is the late night shows of propaganda, corporate narrative garbage being shut down, and these gentlemen getting a long vacation. Deadline reports nightly talk shows, including The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, are set to go... Oh, notice they don't mention Seth Meyers until later. Set to go dark on Tuesday after writers agreed to strike. Late Night with Seth Meyers, The Daily Show, which had correspondent Dolce Sloan hosted this week, will also be hit. While such weekly shows as Saturday Night Live, Real Time with Bill Maher, and Last Week Tonight will be similarly impacted, though final decisions on those shows are expected to come later in the week. Isn't this absolutely hilarious? Real Time with Bill Maher, Last Week Tonight, I thought these were political shows that address news topics. Bill, come on, man. You can't do a show without writers?
Of course they can, Tim. They're showing solidarity. God damn it. I hate Bill Maher, but they've all made statements to the effect of, yes, Conan OBrien kept doing a show. He contractually was obliged to. He just showed everybody what happens when they don't have writers. That's why I did this, took that off, and then put it down on the desk. I wonder how long I can get this for. That was like 6 seconds, not even, maybe two. This would be a long bit for me. I would have to spin this ring endlessly for as long as it would be a very boring bit. I'm just gonna say that. Either way, yeah. So writers are good. Not that they don't have the ability to do so. However, right? Like I'm sure these are all thespians when it comes to fucking improv. You know?
What? We do a nightly show all the time. We're fortunate enough to have Seamus Coughlin back on the show, and he just makes things up. Just makes the jokes up right there. Maybe.
Oh, I know you all just make things up. There's very little course correction that goes on this shit.
Maybe Seamus should be striking as well because he's funny. The Late Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tonight Show, The Late Show, blah, 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 blah. They're going to pivot to reruns. And then they go on to mention all the people who are going to be on. The only thing I really care about in terms of who's not coming on is they're going to have the Smashing Pumpkins. And that's pretty based because Billy Corgan's legit. And he was going to be on.
I was like, if it hadn't been for me seeing Billy Corgan twice on InfoWars, I'd have no idea what he's talking about. But now I know why he thinks he's based. Yeah, that perfect sense. Yeah, of course.
What show was he going to be on? He's going to be on Kimmel. That would have been great. That would have been great to see the Smashing Pumpkins. Seth Meyers, speaking on Late Night this afternoon, said, I love writing for TV, blah, blah, blah. No one is entitled to a job in show business, but for those who do have a job, they're entitled to fair compensation. They're entitled to make a living. Okay. Tell me why it is they're striking, because, you know, I'm curious. The Writers Guild of America is on strike. Quote, though we negotiated intent on making a fair deal, and though your strike vote gave us the leverage to make some gains, the studio's responses to our proposals have been wholly insufficient. Given the existential crisis writers are facing, the WGA said in a message, we must now exert the maximum leverage possible to get a fair contract by withholding our labor. The Guild leadership added, members of the negotiating committee, board, and council will be out with you on the picket lines. News of the strike, which takes effect in a few hours, came late Monday after the Guild's negotiations with the AMPTP failed to.
So I don't need him to reread the article that we were just reading. I just want your spicy takes.
News. And he said that, you know, Vice was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He told the story about how he was sitting in a car and there were just too many cars on the street. Nobody was moving. I think he was in China. And he got out and he looks around and he's like, it's insane that these auto manufacturers are saying we need to make more cars when we can't even move as it is. And that got him interested in worldly affairs. But he says it wasn't until Tim Pool, who's sitting right over there, and he points to me at the Knight Foundation Awards, came in that we decided to actually do boots on the ground field reporting.
He's going to make you sign some kind of 300-page NDA. I'm not signing anything. I'll be honest with you. Both because I don't have the time to read a contract as extensive as the one he would offer me. But honestly, if you're like, so I'm paying for my own flight because I didn't want to give them my passport info. But if I'm paying for my own flight, and yes, he is putting me up in a hotel. But if you are willing to fly me out there and put me up somewhere, and you get there and it's like, hey, by the way, you got to sign this fucking 400-page contract. No, not if you don't see me appear on the Tim Pool show, despite the fact that I'm flying there tomorrow on Thursday, that's the reason why. Because yes, no, I don't have time to read the fine print, and I don't know or want to sign any contractual obligation to fucking Tim Pool or whatever the fuck it might say. But also, like, who knows what fucking things you could be liable for. You know what? I'm gonna ask Binder beforehand. I don't think he'll do that. I can't see them doing that, but
now I went to this man.
Yeah, the show's going to be live.
I went to these people and I told them exactly what you need to do, and they did not listen. They didn't. The long story short of it is, I came in and said, "Here's what we need to do to make this work. I need A, B, C, 1, 2, 3."
Yeah.
They didn't give me those things. They gave me some of them, hobbling my capabilities, and then hiring a bunch of people around me, and then having me do my thing while not expanding upon what was actually working. You want to know what I told him? I told him a couple things.
Is Leftist Mafia... Wow, there's so many questions. First, I don't know what time it's airing. Most likely, Tim Pool's show will pop up on his YouTube, Timcast IRL, and show you the time. Typically, I think it's 5 or 6 p.m. PST is when he usually does his program, so that's probably something to go by. To people asking, is Leftist Mafia happening? It is. I'll host the Leftist Mafia, one of them, on the Serfs.tv, if you want to stay in the chat there. I'm not going to be doing any kind of streaming or anything, because I'm going to be the one debating Tim Pool, so I'm going to be concentrating on that. So yeah, anything you want in terms of like, where do we go, what do we do, where do we look, don't be adding me, because I won't be checking my phone. I won't be going scrolling through trying to be like, okay, now I got to set up the stream, now I got to set up that. No. So go watch the Leftist Mafia, go do something like that. Yeah, that's all I can say on this.
First, live stream technology Easy to
Leftist
do. We did
Mafia will
some
have
really amazing live coverage. We were on the ground in Ukraine. We did some live streams. We were on the ground in Brazil. We were in Turkey. The Turkey Gezi Park live streams were massive for the company. They were getting some of the biggest viewership they'd ever gotten. Everybody was saying that at the
Okay, I'm bored now. I don't care anymore, Tim. So
years
this
or
is
so.
it?
Poor. He might be thinking, yeah, whatever.
Okay, so he's happy about the Vice Media thing. The Vice Media thing is pretty wild. It's not going away, by the way. It's filing for bankruptcy, which means that it can be bought out. Vice was considered one of the most successful news startups of all time when investors valued it at $5.7 billion in 2017. Now it's struggling to sell itself as more than $1 billion. Vice is still engaging in talks to sell itself either in bits or pieces. Sources told Axios it's trying to be sold for $1 billion. Vice raised more than $30 million in debt financing from Fortress Investment Group, one of its largest investors. Fortress already participated in Vice's $250 million 2019 debt round. The latest round gave the firm preferential treatment to be paid out first to the company, and then the Wall Street Journal reported if the company did go bankrupt, it's likely Fortress would take control of Vice. Vice co-founder and former Voice of Montreal colleague Shane Smith, Sarush Alvi, and Gavin McInnes started the magazine in 1994. At its peak, it was worth $5.7 billion. That's nuts. The following year, Disney wrote down $157 million of its initial $400 million investment in Vice. Months later, Vice's newly appointed CEO, Nancy Dubuc, laid off 10% of the staff. I could see Disney pretty much just gobbling up what remains of it once the price lowers a bit. Or it's just going to be selling off in pieces and assets. Because, yeah, they do have a lot of different branches. I have really mixed feelings when it comes to Vice. I have got some friends who've worked for Vice who had great stories. And I had another friend who worked for Vice that sounded incredibly exploitative. Where it was basically like, hey, we want you to go to this underground club scene. And then she was like, okay, sure. And I was like, and we want you to basically do everything that's coming your way. Now, we can't legally tell you to do drugs and stuff like that. But we want you to have the experience and write on the experience. So, you know, you as a journalist should probably put yourself into your work, kind of like wink, wink. Right? It's like, so you want me to do coke? Like, you want me to go to a club and do a bunch of coke? No, we can't say that. We'd never tell you to do that. We'd never ask you to do that. Doing that would be illegal, right? Obviously. No, we just want you to get the story. So again, as a journalist, get in there, find out, and do basically try to, you know, act as they act without doing anything illegal. Of course. You get it, right?
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojak, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.